Okay, then the last one which we talked about to do with the transdisciplinary, which the transdisciplinary basically focuses on, we are saying that in the transdisciplinary, the integration is done based on student concerns and questions that are raised. That becomes the focal point when it comes to the integration aspect of the learning concept. So when you combine, that's why we talked about the fact that in one of the two main approaches that are really used when it comes to the transdisciplinary has to do with project-based learning, and that of the negotiated curriculum, where we said that what to learn, how to learn, and everything about the learning is a determination between the learner and the teacher. They decide, they come together and agree and disagree on what to learn, what not to learn, and that sets the ball rolling for what they are supposed to do for that particular day. So these are some of the things that we discuss with that of them. So today we are looking at the issue of how do we develop a curriculum development process. So we have looked at the various components of it. We have looked at their philosophical underpinnings. We have also looked at various types of curricula and their educational implications. Now we want to look at how do we develop a curriculum. If now you are a geography teacher, and as a geography teacher, you enact the curriculum so far as your classroom is concerned. So the question is, you must have a knowledge of how the whole curriculum is developed. Is developed. So today we are looking at curriculum development process. So this unit tells us how the process we go through, the activities we go through, the actions we undertake in developing curriculum for a particular institution. Now, the question is, when we talk of curriculum development process, you see, it is a broad term. Curriculum development process is a broad term, which that broad term encompasses a number of activities or actions or terminologies associated with making what curriculum. So curriculum development process is a broad term or umbrella which encompasses various activities or various actions that are undertaken when it comes to developing, when it comes to drafting of a curriculum. That's what we mean by curriculum development process. Now, these activities or actions or terminologies include curriculum planning is one activity or action. It includes curriculum decision making. It includes designing the curriculum, what we call curriculum design. It also includes curriculum construction. It also includes curriculum implementation. It includes curriculum improvements. It includes curriculum evaluation. It includes curriculum organization. So these are a number of activities that we undergo when it comes to curriculum development process. That's why I say it's a broader term that encompasses a number of activities or series of actions or terminologies associated with making of curriculum. Now, the question is, when we say curriculum planning, which is one of the terminologies, one of the things we do whenever we are developing curriculum. Now, when we say curriculum planning, that is the first stage of any curriculum development activity. Curriculum planning is basically a decision-making stage where we take decisions about how the whole process is going to start, who qualifies to take part in the whole activity, what type of learning experiences, what type of aims, goals, and objectives, what type of subject matter, what type of evaluation or assessment procedure that must be. So the decision that are taken in making the taking who, what, who, and who, what's, and how of the process being set out is what we term as what curriculum planning. That's why it is, we said that it describes the process of making decisions and taking actions that are intended to result in beneficial change. And the decisions include who are to even take part in the whole curriculum development activity, the various committee, the works, the kind of timelines, the aims, the goals, the objectives, the subject matter they are to consider, which learning experiences, how they are going to implement it, how are they going to evaluate it, and if there's a need for any. So these are the decisions that are taken at the planning stage. So curriculum planning is a preliminary activity when it comes to curriculum development process that must be done, so that we take decision on all these. That's why Adenchi will tell you that it is a process of making decision about appropriate learning experience content to select how to organize and integrate these elements into the instructional program for the realization of the purposes or the objective that has been set out for that. So that is that for curriculum planning. Now, where I want you to pay critical attention has to do with okay, let's look at now. The issue is that in planning, what are some of the principles that must guide your planning in that decision making? So we have what we call the general principles to be considered in curriculum planning. We have already established the fact that curriculum planning is a decision making stage where we decide what type of aims, goals, and objectives to select, what type of subject matter or content, what kind of learning experience or activity or methods that will help us achieve our aim. Likewise, how is the implementation going to be done? Likewise, how are we going to assess to determine whether indeed we are making progress or otherwise? So you cannot just stand up and just take these decisions, but you must be guided by certain principles. So one of the principles that you must be guided at, those decisions you are taking about the curriculum should be child-centered or should be learner-centered, meaning that the curriculum you are developing is for a particular target group who are learners. Hence, those learners' needs, their interests, their age, their maturity level, their abilities, their aptitudes, their cultural background are very critical to the design of the curriculum. So when we talk of the curriculum should be child-centered or learner-centered, we are talking about the fact that the curriculum should be able to be in sync with the learner's level of development in terms of their level of maturity, their age, the level of understanding, their assimilation level, their interests, their needs, their abilities, their aptitudes, and even their sex and their social-cultural and economic background, so that we develop a curriculum that will be reflective of the learners who are going to go through, in order for them not to give up if it is beyond their ability, and also in order not for them to fool around if it is below their ability. Hence, we are saying that in taking into consideration of their learners' interests, their age, their needs, abilities, and capabilities, tends to be reflecting the learner-centeredness that we are talking about. Two, those decisions should also ensure that the curriculum is useful for everyday living. In fact, the essence of schooling is the whole essence of schooling is that at the end of the day, the learners will be equipped with the requisite knowledge, understanding, and experience to be able to reconstruct the society or contribute his quota to the development of the society. Hence, the curriculum should be developed in such a way that it will be related to real life situations of the learners, so that the learners can be able to solve daily problems in their life. We need problem solvers in the society. Hence, learners should not just go through education system and come out to become a burden to the society, but they should be able to come and help to solve the daily problems. Hence, the curriculum must be useful to everyday life living or experiences of the learner. That is why, in terms of the learner experience, it must be related to the learner's experiences, their real life situations, their environment, where they can easily relate those things to be able to make sense of whatever you are talking about. We're also saying that the third point is that it should provide for the total development of the learner. And when when we talk of total development, we are talking about the fact that the curriculum should have that holistic training or equip the learner in terms of developing every aspect of the learner. So the total development, we are talking about that aspect. There should be an aspect of the curriculum that should be able to develop the intellectual ability of the learner, the cognitive aspect of the learner. It should also be the curriculum beside that the affective, the emotions, the sensitivities, the values, and the attitudes of the learners are also what developed, which borders on the social and moral what dimensions. Then we also talk about the motor skills or the psychomotor, which has to do with the skill set, the craft that they also need to be very holistic learners in solving societal problems. So anytime we hear that the curriculum should provide for the total development of the learner, we expect that that curriculum will be able to develop the learner's intellectual ability, their affective, their attitude, their emotions, their sensitivities, and also their motor skill set, what we call the psychomotor or their craft. It should also emphasize activity or experience rather than mere acquisition of knowledge, facts, or theories with no practical applications. Because I want to produce learners who are competence oriented and not barbarization or rote learning. And so, for that matter, the curriculum must be activity oriented, it must be experience oriented. And that's why we have these reforms of the standard base, the common core, which is underpinned by activity, all because learner is given opportunity to explore and create their own understanding or knowledge out of their own exploration with the guidance of the teacher. It should also be relevant to the needs of the society. Yes, like I said, if whatever you are, that's why the first point of call for any curriculum development activity is the conducting a study called needs assessment to know what the society's concerns, what does society want education to do for them that is the curriculum is not producing. Are there things that society expects education to offer that is not offering? So the gap or the difference between what ought to be and what is becomes the fulcrum for the revision of the curriculum and also the readjustment to make sure that it achieve the needed result that society expects. Now, it must also, we are saying that the curriculum planner should ensure that the curriculum planning process is ongoing. It's a continuous process. It is not a snapshot linear activity where you start from a starting point and end, but rather it should be a continuous activity. And that is why some scholars advocate for the fact that curriculum, if it's a continuous activity or ongoing process, then it should not be straightforward, but rather a cyclical, whereby an evaluation and the data will help you to either go over to make some modification in the existing curriculum. Now, the seventh point is that the curriculum should also ensure that there are qualified personnel to take the learners through the planned activity. And here we are talking about the teachers, the facilitators. Are they available? If they are available, do they have the requisite qualification, both academic and professional? Have they been trained with the new curriculum to know the dictates and the new terminologies that are spelled out in the curriculum and how they are supposed to implement it? So it must ensure that the right people with the right qualification are available to take learners through the new curriculum. And also the curriculum planners should ensure that teachers have sound knowledge of the curriculum, which is a cardinal point so far as the teaching and learning activity is concerned. Because if the teacher do not have knowledge about the concept, you don't expect the teacher to go and teach and embarrass himself. They will skip where they don't have strength, and they will teach where they have strength. Okay. So, any question with this two before we make progress? Okay, so if there are no questions, yeah, Stephen, your hand is up.
Um, Doc, please, good afternoon.
Good
Hello.
afternoon. Yeah, please go ahead.
Uh, uh, Doc, please, this just recently changed curriculum that we are using, the new one that we are using. I don't know whether all these things that you were saying were taken into consideration, because looking at a subject like computing, you realize that majority of the teachers who are on the field finds it very, very difficult to teach that subject because it has something of database and data analysis, of which I remember when we were in the university doing introduction to ICT, we didn't do all these things. So I don't know whether those things were, and someone even mentioned of coding and programming. So I don't know whether all these things were taken into consideration, because if they were all taken into consideration, I'm sure it wouldn't be that. Besides, the workshop that they give to the teachers was just something minimal, which wouldn't elaborate on the subject matter well. So I want to ask, are these taken into consideration well, please?
Okay. Uh, Crispin, I think your hand is up. I'm sure you want to attempt the question.
Yes, doctor.
Please go
In
ahead.
reply, yes. In reply to that, I want to say that yes, they took consideration, but the problem is when you go to the field. You see, I'm sure at the college or now the universities, the programming and the other things that he said is part of the courses that they do. So that if you are being trained to become a computing teacher, you have the knowledge about all these things before you come out. Here lies the case when you move to the ground. If you are posted to a school, a head teacher will tell you that go and teach a different subject where you don't have much knowledge about it. The reason being that since you attended college, you should be able to teach this. Some of the head teachers will even tell you that just go and read and go and teach. So the problem is when you are being placed, it's not about those who plan the curriculum. For them, I think now at colleges and then at the universities, all these things you go through programming, coding. If you are being trained to teach computing, you will be taught about all these things. But when you come to the ground, no matter your certificate, no matter your specialization, you can be sent to go and teach RME, maths, or science. And I think some of my colleagues here are witnesses to that. Personally, I am teaching computing at the basic level, but I did social studies. So definitely, the teacher will find it difficult if you don't read wide to teach it. So that is my response to what he said. Thank you.
So, Emmanuel, I'm saying that even at the college or university level, you study courses which, okay, there are some comments. Let me read those comments and before. So, there's, yeah, so Peter Drew has coding and programming, and Prince Aganu said robotics. Emmanuel was even at the college or university level, you study courses which wouldn't be beneficial to your work as a teacher. Can you mention a course that you study which is not beneficial to you as a teacher at the university level? Ima Amwa, can you mention a course you studied in the university which is not beneficial to you as a teacher? Emmanuel Amwa. Okay, you. Peter Drew said, but for college, there is nothing like coding and programming there, bro. Do they even organize workshop for heads? Critical issues in RME. He's running away. Nobody do. The truth of the matter is that when curriculum developers, we develop curriculum, it is a responsibility of the Ministry of Education and NACA, which NACA is under Ministry of Education. It is their responsibility to make sure that these resources, including human resources, are available. As for we, the developer, we are subject specialists, curriculum experts that they bring us on board to develop the documents. And they have to ensure that the resources, personnel are available for us to train them for that purpose. So if the ministry and the NACA do not, because we recommend them, we tell them that we need this, for example, the robotics that you are doing, we need to get people who are trained in robotics. You cannot send any teacher who has never done robotics, even done computing, to go and teach robotics. Robotics is quite different from computing. So it is clearly the responsibility of the Ministry of Education and its agents like agencies like the NACA and all those, NTC, National Teachers Council, those who are responsible for getting the resources, not people who are developing. Those who are developing will recommend and say that we will need these people for training. And it's the ministry who has to make them available for training. Okay. Yeah, Amwa, your hand is up. I asked you a question that if you can mention a course which you did in the university which was not relevant to you as a teacher.
Okay, Doc. So I am from social science background, and those of us who completed College of Education in the year 2022, they can bear me out that we were made to read a general course called General Biology, of which I think is an elective for the science student, but all of us were made to research a course. And
is it under Winneba?
No, please, UCC.
UCC.
Yes, please. We were made to read general biology.
Yes, sir.
And that particular course was very hectic. Many of
general
many
biology.
Yes, please.
Under social sciences.
Yes, please. All of us were general biology.
What was your area of specialization?
Yes, social science.
It is true.
Oh,
social studies.
Just say social studies and
general biology. And for now, I don't see it relevant. But those from the science, those from the natural sciences will be beneficial to that particular course. But for us,
I think
we haven't seen its relevance.
Ima, I think now things have changed. They are modifying some of the things. Some of the courses that we didn't do, some they are now doing. I think we didn't do anthropology also, but our juniors started doing anthropology. So I think for now they've taken some of the courses out from those who are doing the social studies or social science specialization, and they've now added some to it.
Okay, then maybe yeah, because I have colleagues in the college level who are teaching there, and Ola, Wesco, even in fact the Wesco guy is my student, and other places. Okay, no, under UCC. So I'm surprised that general biology, I've never, maybe at first, but currently I've never heard of that. But I'll also see, I'll confirm, I'll also find out from. Because at the regular level, the university regular level, when you are doing BS social science, you have nothing to do with that general biology. All the courses you do are related to your area of geography. And if you are minor in economics, your minor, and the other education related courses. That's all. So why then do you have to go and give general biology to someone who has nothing to do with biology?
Look, not only general biology. We did mathematics, algebra 1, we did trigonometry, geometry as social science students. And these particular courses, most of my colleagues, some of them failed and they are home because of these courses. They couldn't continue. They were sacked from the program.
Oh, okay. You know that normally it's because of the structuring of the program. I don't know if it was it a BA junior high school program and with social studies, or it was a general program.
So please,
Beard
beard,
junior
beard.
high with social studies.
BA junior high social studies.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Underscore there. That I agree with you. Those courses were not so much relevant to your area. Though we can say that social studies is an aspect of social science. So there's by all means an aspect of science in there. Yes, you could find some biology components, but I don't think that that is the main, especially where UCC social studies is more of integrated in nature, which is a combination of having some geography, social, and like you are saying, sociology or anthropology, some form of economics, government issues. So general biology is something that I think that though it may have a relevance, but the extent of its relevance, I think that it could have been looked at. It could have been looked at. So I'll find out and see whether it's still in the system or it's no more from the colleges. Because at the regular level, in the UCC first degree of these social science and those, we don't do those courses there. So that's why I'm saying that. Okay. Yeah. Any other question or contribution?
Doctor, um, it's okay.
Yeah, please, I'm listening.
Please let's continue.
Okay. So let's look at the next term, which is curriculum decision making. Now, when we say curriculum decision making, always people confuse curriculum planning with decision making. Because of the name decision making, they tend to say that curriculum decision making is the process of making decision. But it's different from when you say the process of making decision, then you are aligned to the curriculum planning. Now, when we say curriculum decision making, is the next level in curriculum development after curriculum planning. And what happened at this curriculum decision making is that it is a curriculum decision making stage that we make judgments about the decisions that has been taken at the planning stage to determine which of the decision is worthwhile to work with and which of them must be left out. Are there some alternatives decision that can be considered and included? That's why we say that curriculum decision making stage, it is a process whereby judgments are made about the ends or means of education or socialization. That must happen at the context at the institutional level and usually focuses on the program. So here, what we do is that those decisions that we took at the planning phase, it is a curriculum decision making days that we filter them, we sieve them, we screen them, and we make judgment about them to determine which of those decisions is appropriate to work with, which of them should we eliminate, which alternative should we consider. And by so doing, key decisions about the ends and means of education are put into play. And these key decisions about ends and means of education are in 5 groups. One has to do with the curriculum aims, goals, and objectives. So those decisions that we took about curriculum aims, goals, and are there some of the aims that we need to leave out? Are there some of them we need to incorporate? How do we structure them? The next one has to do with the curriculum content or the subject matter, the learning experiences, evaluation, and resources. So these are the 4 major areas so far as the ends and means of education are concerned. So always take note that when we say curriculum decision making, it is the stage in curriculum development process where we filter or screen or sieve those decisions that was taken at the curriculum planning stage to determine which of them is appropriate to work with, which of them must be left out, and which of them alternative that can be considered. Then once we are done with that, then we move on to the next stage, what we call curriculum design. Now, when we say curriculum design is where we arrange the various elements of the curriculum or components of the curriculum. And when we say elements or components, we are talking about the aims, goals, and objectives as one element or component. We are talking about subject matter or content as another. We are talking about learning experience or method as another, and evaluation. So it is a curriculum design stage is where we arrange the various components or elements of the curriculum to follow a certain pattern of what organization. Don't forget that in every curriculum development activity, there should be a point where we structure, we organize the various elements to follow a certain sequence or pattern that when learners are going through to make sense to them. And that's what we do at the curriculum design. So it's basically the arrangement of the various elements, such as the aims, the goals and objectives, the methods or learn experience, the subject matter or content, and evaluation are organized to follow a certain sequence or pattern. Then having done that, then we move on to the next one, which is the curriculum construction. Now, when we say curriculum construction, this is the stage where we write the curriculum to put up the draft of the curriculum. And this stage is purely a technical activity which must be done by professionals, curriculum professionals or experts who have expertise to design, to structure and sequence the curriculum, and also design instructional system for learners to consume that curriculum. And that's why we are saying that the curriculum construction is, it is where now all the design, the things that we organize to follow a certain sequence, now we give it form and shape and meaning. That's why it focuses on giving form and meaning to the initial decisions and action taken at the planning stage to enhance the implementation. So always take note that the curriculum construction is the stage where it gives the whole curriculum development document the form and the meaning or the shape that it needs to take. And curriculum construction is purely a technical activity that nobody can do it with the exception of what? Expert. Then the next terminology we want to talk about is curriculum improvement, revision, or change. Now, when we say curriculum improvement or revision or change, remember last 2 years during the election time, you see that NDC was saying that when they come, they'll review the free SHS. Then people were saying that as for NDC, when they say review, it means cancellation. But rather, if I win as Baumia, I will improve it. They are all singing from the same tune. And because of politics, they were playing games there. Curriculum improvement, curriculum revision, or change, they are from the same parent. Because you cannot improve a curriculum without revising, making adjustment. The same way you cannot also say that you are revising something without the ultimate aim of improving it. So it was just semantics that they were playing politics with what NDC said. So when we say curriculum improvement or curriculum revision or curriculum change, it's basically the modification that we make in an existing curriculum or making adjustment in an existing curriculum to make it more effective after it has been implemented for some time. So once a curriculum is in use for some time, normally when we start using a curriculum in the space of 5 years, there's a need for some formative evaluation to be done to see whether there will be some revision within it or whether we do some adjustment to improve it. So in curriculum wise, mostly every program that hits the target of 5 years, that's why even GTech, every 5 years you have to go for re-accreditation of your program and take away certain courses that are not of relevant and courses that new courses can be introduced. So that is that for curriculum improvement or revision. Now, for a number of reasons, an existing curriculum may be reviewed. And one of the reasons why a curriculum may be revised or reviewed is when the curriculum is not doing what it's intended to do. For example, if we have a curriculum which is supposed to produce teachers, or which is supposed to bring out graduates who can be employed with the requisite skills, and we are producing graduates who cannot be employed, then there's a problem with the curriculum. So when the curriculum is not doing what is intended, or when it's not producing what is intended to produce, and also when the curriculum is out of sync with current needs, goals, and aspirations of the society, then there's a need for it to be revised. Are you getting it? So now we say we live in a global world, global village, 21st century skills, competencies to be global citizen, the skills, robotics, and other things. That's what industrial revolution, as you always hear Dr. Duchum talking about industrial revolution. We need to catch up. We are late. We need to be fast. So there is a need for a commensurate revision in the curriculum to be in sync with current needs and happenings so far as the society is concerned. Okay, I'll circle for your hand is up.
Yes, I wanted to ask if a curriculum has produced what it is intended to do, maybe for some time, maybe when the curriculum was set up, within some time it has been able to achieve what is been able to achieve. Can it still be changed, or you have to maintain it?
How will you know that it has produced what is intended? It is only when you have done a formative evaluation. That's how you'll be able to know. Are you getting it?
Yes.
So based on that evaluation, if you realize that the curriculum is producing what is intended to produce, is doing what is intended to produce, why do you change it? You only modify when it is failing to achieve what it's supposed to achieve. That's why you make modification. So if it is producing what society wants and it's still in line with societal needs, the current society needs and aspirations, why do you change it? You don't need to change it. But if it's not in sync with current happenings, obviously it must be changed. If it is doing what it's intended to do, based on your evaluation, you just have to make progress. You don't have to change it. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when it happens that we put a committee together or a panel together for them to do this activity.
But
So,
Doc, I think someone just said something. With our education system.
I say,
So
Augustine saying that politicians will change it, oh, bro. Oh, okay. Yeah, you see, the politicians, because they know what they get from it too. That is, if you have a country whose education system is in the hands of the politicians, in fact, they can use the curriculum revision as a basis to get money. So it's possible for no recourse. But even that one, it will not be a whole small curriculum change. It could be maybe an incorporation of a course or a subject to make sure that they are in tune with current happening. I get in a picture.
Yes, please.
Yeah, but taking the context of Ghana, everything is possible. Yeah, Stephen.
Doc, please, with the basics of this curriculum development, what I said earlier on concerning whether the curriculum plan take into account the views, because so looking at it, like the same computing that I was talking about, it's required that
They
before you
take
teach
it,
the
no,
subject matter.
wait, Stephen. Also, they take into consideration what the views.
So yes, the views, or perhaps this the needs assessment that they do, the needs assessment, whether it is really done. Because say a school like where I'm teaching currently, we don't have any laptop or computer. However, we are to do coding. So say in the course of this implementation, if the planners, I want to ask whether the planners also makes recommendation that government should purchase at least laptop or computers for schools, especially the basic schools, to enable these curriculum become valid. Thank you.
Stephen,
Say,
Stephen, in every curriculum
Doc.
development, the team that will do it will recommend the thing that must be done. Those things is not the duty of the committee to do that. It is the duty of the Ministry of Education, the NACA, who are agents or allies of the Ministry of Education, spearheaded by the minister who is a policy maker, to do that. So every curriculum, that's why we have learned experience. These are method activities that we prescribe, that must be the resources that must be provided and all those things. So if the government failed to provide, you cannot blame the team. The team, the one they do maybe, if you go be you're trying to carry them or no the baby. So if you also remember when we're looking at the philosophical perspectives of curriculum, I told you that some of the societies or the country have that perennialism philosophy, who believes that human nature is virtually the same everywhere. And so that orientation also influences that, where we also assume that learners are the same everywhere, they have the same resources, they have the same facilities. So when we are developing a curriculum, we develop it once and for everybody, irrespective of where you are, whether you are connected to national grid, whether you have laptop or not. We develop one document and we say use it. I getting it. In fact, it is now that they are trying to move away from the perennialism, but now we are at the point of progressivism, which even that one we have not fully, because to move fully into progressivism to existentialism, you have to go, there should be a complement of the document by doing the reforms within the structural systems that we have, the classrooms that we have. It does not fit for this standard base. And this is not the duty of the committee members who develop the curriculum. There are some of the subject specialists who have come together with the direction of the government. They have developed a document for you. They have provided all the things you are supposed to do as a government before the nationwide use. If you don't do it, how would they come and sanction you? How would they come and say, government, because you did not do it, you can't run the curriculum? So the chunk of the responsibility is on the Ministry of Education and its allies like NACA, NTC, and all those people. Stephen, are you getting the picture?
Yes, Doc.
Okay. Yeah, Oseko,
Yes, Doc.
I like the way I like the way Oseko and Steven are contributing. Thumbs up.
Please, I want to ask, see, after curriculum has been developed or planned by the team, the curriculum team, making its recommendations and everything, and then when it comes to its implementation, we don't have the required teachers to implement that part of or that kind of curriculum. Let's say, for example, with what I said, a social studies teacher being asked to go and teach computing or any other subject. With this one, after 5 years or some years to come, and then the curriculum is evaluated, can we say that the curriculum didn't produce what it is intended to do? Since we were lacking learning materials, we don't have the requisite, like we don't have the teachers who are qualified to teach that particular subject.
Yeah, that's why when we are doing evaluation, there's a models that we use. I remember I even told you one of the mostly used staffing beam CIPP model, which the CIPP we have the context, input, process, and product. So if you are doing a holistic review or evaluation, we don't only focus on the curriculum alone. We also look at the environment within which this implementation must take place. So if it's computing as a core subject for all students, as part of the context, the environment within which these things, we look at were there facilities, were there labs, were there computers, were they connected to electricity and all those things, that air conditioning that could make the machines work well, or they were not. Then we also look at the input, which is the document itself, the curriculum itself, where the content appropriate enough to help achieve the aims, the goals and objectives, where the content reflection of what society needs or concerns. Was it in sync with current demands and happenings? Then the P, we look at the process, which is the implementation. And the implementation has to do with whether the teachers had the requisite knowledge, understanding, and experience, the necessary training to implement. And how were they implementing it? Were they implementing it in line of what is stipulated or prescribed in the curriculum? Then the next P, we look at the products. People who have gone through the learning and who are now at the, various field of works, that they will interview them to find out how helpful as the program they went through been helpful to them. So it's not just one-sided evaluation that will let you do. So this encompassing evaluation process will let us know whether the problem is from the teachers who are implementing it, or it's from the document itself, or it is from the environment within which the implementation has taken place. And that from there, we'll be able to make the necessary recommendation. So if for your case, you realize that it's about how the teachers are implementing, then probably we just have to look at that place and make sure that they are well grounded. Are you getting it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So anytime that there's a curriculum review, so for example, if you want to, we have realized that a curriculum, geography curriculum is not producing what it's supposed to produce, or it's not in tune with current happenings, and we want to modify them, we set up a committee of a geography education or a panel. And when you set up the panel, this should be the composition of the committee. We should have subject specialists, which will include geographers with expertise in different specialities, like physical geography, human or regional geographers, then practical geographers like surveyors and those things who are in the physical or map work field. Then we also have curriculum experts, people who have developed, who have been trained in curriculum development. Example like us. You see, we need to be part. Then we have educational psychologists, which I know you know why educational psychology is part of it. Then we have teachers teaching at the level of the curriculum improvement. So, for example, if we are developing the curriculum for senior high school geography students at the senior high school level, then we have geography teachers. And normally we use their associations. You know, we have Ghana Geography Teachers Association. So we use the leadership of the association to represent geography teachers. Because we have thousands of geography teachers. You cannot say all the thousands should be part of the committee. Room for more. So the leadership, maybe the president or maybe the secretary of them, they represent. Then we have employers representative, those industry players who seeks to employ the students having gone through that, they also represent. Then we have NACA representative, then a representative from Ministry of Education. So you see that it is not just one person sitting down to develop. So this is what happens when you are developing at the pre-tertiary or the secondary school, or when government is in charge. But in fact, at the university level, it can be team of staff, lecturers, or even a lecturer can develop a curriculum for a whole institution. Are you getting the picture? Maybe after here, I'll show you a curriculum that I have developed for University of Cape Coast, which is JTech has approved it, and generally we are starting it. And I'll share it with you, some of the content, so that you have a look at how curriculum is being developed. I've also developed programs for Presbyterian University. Recently, I developed a PhD educational studies for Presbyterian University. So I will share the one that we just JTech has approved, and we are starting it this January with the first batch of that is Bachelor of Education Geography. So they are doing more of geography education courses. Some are doing geography with the government. Some are also doing geography with maths. Some are doing geography with economics. So I'll share example with you. Now, when we form the committee like this, then the next thing is that the committee will be giving terms of reference. The committee will be giving terms of reference. And the terms of reference, when the committee is put together, these are their terms of reference. They are supposed to undertake a needs assessment or situational analysis to find out what is wrong with the curriculum. That's their first thing they are supposed to do. Now, when they conduct these needs assessment or situational analysis, then they will be in a position to get the data to formulate the new curriculum objectives. Then based on the new objectives or aims or goals, then now they look out for what subject matter will help us achieve the aims, goals, and objectives. So the committee has to do that, select the new subject. That's why we have the subject specialists in there. Physical geographers, human or regional geographers, we have math, practical geographers, and all those things in there. Then, based on the subject matter, what activities, what learning experiences, what methods or strategies will help us disseminate teach the content to be able to achieve the aims or goals. So then from there, you formulate new evaluation procedure to be in line or in sync with the new objectives. How are you going to assess to determine whether these new objectives are being achieved or not? For example, if now you are focused on activity, competencies, and those things, you cannot be using paper and pencil exams. But now you have to tune into the, let's say, use of performance-based assessment, authentic assessment, portfolio assessment, which is quite different from the previous paper and pencil quizzes and exams that we are used to. So the committee will also develop that. Then also is the committee who will write out the new program. That's the new curriculum, incorporating these formative evaluation techniques as to how to test the objective content and learning experiences in terms of how they are performing or not. Then they are also supposed to revise the material after the formative evaluation exercise, especially the tryout and the field trial. It is the same committee who will do the tryout and the field trial, so that the issues they will use to revise the material. Then when they revise it, they are also supposed to make sure that they design new teaching learning resources in terms of the textbooks, teachers manual, etc. So you see, the subject specialists who selected the courses, they are the people normally they are given the opportunity to write the books, because they selected the courses. They know what the content of what they have selected for teachers to teach the student. So they will also be writing the books. At times, if the government have some publishers who are party faithfuls, they will also be given opportunity to do the write-ups, subject to NACA approval. NACA's approval before it can be sold on the market. So these are the terms of reference for the various the committee that are put together to design the curriculum. So having said that, let me show you what I was talking to you about before we look at the modules and wrap. But any question? Yeah, Amar, go ahead.
Okay, Doc, please. My question is, in evaluating the curriculum, let's say social geography curriculum in Ghana, do they take chief examiner's reports into consideration?
Chief examiner's report.
Yes, please.
The chief examiner's report is only an aspect of the student performance. So chief examiner's report does not, it can be taken into consideration, but it will not take that big center stage prominence, because we don't develop curriculum for students to pass. Our curriculum development is to train learners who will fit into the society, to meet the needs and concerns of the society, not WAEC. So yes, the committee can decide to look at a chief examiner's report, but that will not be the focal.
Okay, Doc. So I asked that particular question because in Ghana here, our focus is on passing the exams. So if, let's say, a student after going through formal school is not able to pass his or her final exams, that is the end for that student in Ghana here. That is why I asked such a question.
Yes, it's true. But see, we do not develop the curriculum because of we want students to pass, like I've said already. But that's why I did not agree with the new turn of events when we developed the standard base. You see, the standard base, they were not supposed to take BEC, they were not supposed to take WASI. They were to write standardized exams. They continue with the high school diploma, then they write entrance exams to the university. But unfortunately, within a trickle of an eye, these same politicians turn round to say they should go and write WASI and BEC. What I want you to understand is that when we are developing a curriculum, the focus is not on whether they will pass WAEC or not. That's not our focus. The focus is on how can we raise a generation who can be able to meet the demands and concerns, the current needs of the society. Because the essence of the school, that's why we say that the school is a microcosm of the macro society. because the school dwells in the society to fulfill a certain mission of the society. That's why in the needs assessment, we don't go and ask WAEC whether students are passing or they are not passing. So should we tune our courses or not? No. We focus on the society. What are the concerns of the society? What does society want education to offer that is not offering? What does learners want, their needs and concerns, and other stakeholders? I get, because that's the focus of the curriculum. That's why I see when you focus much on the WAEC to be the basis of modifying. In any case, WAEC only picks certain few topics in the curriculum and they assess students. What about other areas that they fail to assess? So, though, yes, in Ghana, people assess based on the ability to pass exams and those things, but that is not our focus whenever we are developing curriculum. Okay.
Okay, Doc. Um, please, I want to ask, since the curriculum is designed to meet societal needs or solve societal problems, currently, especially in the Greater Accra region, flooding has been an issue whenever it rains in Accra here, some parts in Accra, and I'm sure some other parts in Takrady floods when it rains. So with that, can we say the current curriculum, the geography curriculum, it's helping us to solve that kind of problem?
Which one, the standard base?
Yes.
The standard base almost started how many years?
But even before the standard based curriculum, the previous one that we were using before, because this problem has still been in existence, though we go to school, we learn.
So what you first have to look at for the old one, were they called topics that were focused on flooding and how to mitigate those flooding, so that the learner will know his role as a learner, how to help stop these flooding? If it is, then we expect that whilst teachers were delivering, they will cite these examples and relate these flood issues into learners' real life situation, possibly taking them to the field to have a feel of it and their role. Then, if they fail not to play their role as learners, and take note, it doesn't only take learners' role to solve the problem. Oh. That's why we have SEDICOM, town and country planning, special units. They also have a role to play, those district assemblies. So if they fail to play their role, the learners alone cannot solve the flooding issue. As a learner, he can do in his own small way, not to make sure that gutters are choked. Yes, they can remove it. They will not throw rubbish in gutters and all those things. But that alone cannot solve the problem. Where you think that there's a structural problem that the special unit or town and country plan must solve, and if they fail to do that, it's not the curriculum who is not achieving. It's the authorities who have failed to play their role. Are you getting it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I've just shared the document I'm talking about to you. Let me see if I can expand it a bit more. And I'm sure you can see it. Are you able to see it?
Yes, sir.
So you see that there, you see Ghana Tertiary Education Commission info A1C. That's if you are developing a new program. Information for accreditation application for a new program. So I'm showing a typical example of a curriculum. So you see, this is what I developed for the College of Education, Faculty of Humanities, and that's our department, Department of Business and Social Science Education. Bachelor of Education, Geography Program degree. So that's the name of the program. Bachelor of Education, Geography. So there's nothing like social sciences, BS social sciences. So go straight and write on your certificate, BEd, Bachelor of Education, Geography, maybe with government, with mathematics, like that. It will not be social sciences again. So that someone will not say skirt and blouse. Are you getting it?
Yes, doctor.
Yes,
So
sir.
look at some of the things you must provide. Name of the institution, the program title, level of the program, support, background information, national relevance of the program you are developing. So in the national relevance, you must relate to the Sustainable Development Goals by UNESCO, UN, and all those, the state education policy, Education Act of 778, the National Development Policy Framework. So it's not just writing anything out of vacuum. See, then you see the uniqueness of the program. You have to tell us why this new program. How is it unique from other universities who are also running same program? Are you getting it?
Yes, doctor.
Then we have inadequacies in skills. So in the old program, what were the inadequacies? What were the shortfalls in there that you are bringing this new curriculum? So you have to give a justification for everything. Then alignment with the mandate, mission, and the next area of the university. How does this program align with the mandate of the University of Cape Coast? Then you come to program aims, objectives, and outcomes. So see the aim, the objectives, and the outcomes of the program, intended or expected outcomes. Then student admission, progress, and graduation. See, everything is listed here. So those with WASI, those mature students, those A-level applicant, international applicant, must all be included in here. Then the progression. You see, how are they, what graduation qualification, target market and employability, which people, where areas they could possibly work or be employed. Consultation and collaboration must also be indicated. Evidence of practical training. So you see, all these things are there. Then you come to the components of the program. You see, semester by semester, the structure of it. So when you do that, then you come to elective courses, then practical training, then you have what called the course mapping. So you look at this. So now the new template that the tech brought, look at how it is. So you see, so now the first year one, semester one, learners will be doing, for example, theories in geography education, nature of geography, elements of physical geography. You see, then those who are the electives, that's the minor. We have introduction to political studies, that's those who are doing government. Algebra and those doing mathematics as minor. Then those who want to do econs, we have principles, so it's an option. So this is a typical example of a curriculum. Then the university-wide courses are also here. So African studies, communication skill, information literacy. Then Ghanaian sign language. Then we have the year two, semester one, year one, semester two. Geography for senior high schools, philosophical basis for geography education, element of human geography. The same, so it goes like that. Then year two, semester one. You see, we have historical foundations of geography education, introduction to earth science, surveying and cartography. Then year two, second semester, curriculum studies in geography, map work and practical geography, introduction to GIS and remote sensing. Then year three, semester one, reflective practice in geography, method of teaching geography. geomorphology and oceanography, regional analysis and development planning, with university-wide courses among others. Then year 3, semester 2, pedagogical content knowledge in geography, research methods in geography education, technologies for teaching geography, climatology and hydrology. Then year 4, semester 1, project work. Then we have what we call macro teaching, where they do off campus. Then the year 4, semester 2, we have geography education and sustainable development, environmental geography, environmental education, climate change education. You see, so you see that the 4 years the students will learn, every course they are going to do is outlined. Then we have course description. Each of the courses you describe by providing course descriptions, course objectives, course content, mode of delivery, reading materials for all of them. So you see how curriculum is developed. Very, very tedious work. Are you getting the picture?
Yes, please.
Yes. And by God's grace, JTech has approved it. So generally, those who are coming for first years, we are starting with them. You see.
So, Doc, is there a Master of Education Geography program as well?
Yes, currently I'm on it. In fact, I'm done with ML. I'm done with ML Geography Education. I'm currently on the ML Geography Education. So I'm sure, but when we finish, what it has to go to JTech for accreditation approval before we can run. So we are praying that as they have started this new year, this will go on smoothly so that this year it can come on.
Yes, so we are also waiting for it to come on so that we
yes.
Can go.
I've developed it just that at the appropriate time, maybe I will share some with you. So that is a typical example. But you see that you see the difference between the curriculum and the syllabus. The syllabus is just for like a math syllabus, math just for a subject area. So with this one, I was the only one who developed it because I'm at the university level and we are developing it to train geography teachers. Unlike the pre-tertiary level, where the government is the one in charge and who decide what will happen to all the secondary schools and those things. That one, it becomes a different ball game altogether. Okay. So that is that. Let's move on to, but any question on the document I've shared with you? And it's good to learn so that when you're able to do this and you develop a curriculum for an university, you can get money out of it. Okay. So let me stop sharing this so that. Yeah, Amwa, your hand is up.
Yes, Doc. So you made mention of some skirts and blouse, and I want you to explain it a bit further for us, because I think after we are done with this program, we are going to be issued with a certificate with the title, let's say, BEd Social Sciences. And so if there is going to be a new program, BEd Geography Education, doesn't mean that ours is, let's say, skirt and blouse, even if you do a master's in geography.
Yeah, I think that we raised this issue some time ago when we had the interfaculty board meeting on program development. You know, now there's a Nanado's administration introduced what we call vertical progression. Okay. He introduced what we call the vertical progression, where whatever you did at your first degree must correspond with what you are doing at your second degree. So now, if you want to be in academia, you must make sure that if you did BS Social Science on your certificate, it will be there. I think the certificate these days, they write Bachelor of Education, Geography with mathematics or with economics. Are you getting it? Even if the social science appear, it will come into brackets geography with this. So with that one, when you continue doing the MEd or geography as a, we call it vertical progression, because it's still reflective of what you did undergraduate. But where you go and do, let's say, someone will finish this and go and do guidance and counseling at the master's level, or go and do accountancy or become maybe be MBA in business administration, or you go and do maybe educational psychology or special education, you have a problem. We call it vertical, horizontal progression. And nobody in academia will pick you because that's the policy now. So I don't know if this Eric Agbode, the one who is teaching you some geography courses.
Yes, sir.
He has a similar issue. You see, his first degree was in social science, geography, and by his second degree, he went to do educational psychology or special education. Then the PhD level, he went to do special education or educational psychology. So now he applied to many places to be picked as lecturer. They are not picking him because of the skirt and blouse. That's what called skirt and blouse. Your first degree does not correspond with your second degree. Even college, they were not willing to pick. So if you want to go to the college, you have to make sure that your first degree corresponds with your second degree. So if you are doing this, the next thing is to do either BEd geography education or MPhil geography education or MPhil geography or MPhil geography and regional planning or MPhil geography and rural development in rural resource development in Legon, or you can do MPhil geography and rural development was a rural planning.
Okay.
Kane University, or you can do MPhil geography and regional planning in UCC or MPhil geography. So with this, your first degree, it qualifies you to have a lot of areas of choice to make. That will qualify you to lecture at the college level or the university level. Other than that, when you go and switch, you'll be doing skirt and blouse. So as I'm talking to you now, Eric Agode has now come back to do, he's now doing masters in geography and regional plan. Meanwhile, it's a PhD holder that he could have easily be employed. But because of the skirt and blouse, he's still struggling. You see. So please, if you only want to be in academia, my advice to you, don't go and do skirt and blouse. But if you want to set your own business, if you want to be a politician, if you want to go to your own field, or if you want to switch from academia, that one you can go and do the skirt and blouse. They don't care. I get in the picture.
All right. Thank you, doctor.
Yes, sir.
Doctor, please, what of those of us who have say psychology and we are doing this too?
You have what psychology?
Educational psychology.
As your first degree.
Yes.
Your first
I
degree
did
was
a top up. I did a top up in educational psychology, which was social studies as elective.
oh, that one, them code full program, no.
Yes.
No, that program you find you may be more. Anything away way, yeah. Anything away way, no. That's why you are doing this program. So when then what to call and it was even a post time that the issue came up. Where those who finished that program, he didn't want to post them and all those things. So that is the reason why they brought this switch, so that there will be that alignment. Because see, when you go to the panel, we just look at your certificate too. And your certificate, they will write a educational psychology, but secondary school ban how much educational psychology. Unless you take the transcript that you see the courses that you have done, they will say that, oh, okay, you did it, but in the interview of
it was inscripted on it social studies.
Yeah, but what do you mean by educational psychology, social studies? What do you mean by that? Huh? What do you mean by that?
So,
So
meaning the curriculum that didn't suit its needs, or like how?
no, but see, that was old. That's why now that program is no more in the system for code. It's no more there. That's why this program is there. That's why this switch program is there to help you align. So this program you are doing is a first degree program.
I know, I know.
So when you finish, you'll be given a certificate as someone who have done Bachelor of Education, Geography, and Economics as a first degree. Then you can use that to do your master's in the area of geography to fall in line with the vertical progression.
So, because I was also offered the opportunity to do masters in social studies in UCC.
Well, if you are going to do master's in social studies, then you see, the problem you are going to have is that you may submit your certificate to a college level for employment, and they will tell you that your first degree does not correspond with your second degree, because see, there's nothing like what is the name of the program? Educational Psychology, Social Studies.
Yes.
What's the title? Just mention the title. Let me see.
Yeah, that's it. Educational psychology, social
And
studies.
on the face of that certificate and on the face of MS Social Studies, do you think are they the same? Are they the same?
There might be differences in it.
No, on the face value of the certificate you presented for employment. One is educational psychology into bracket social studies.
Yes.
That means that it could be educational psychology program with aspects of focusing on the social aspect of the learner. So on the
Yes.
face of it, you may meet a panel, unless a panel will go into the nitty-gritties of your transcript and maybe come to terms that okay. But then no problem to GTEC will flag it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's good you are doing this program. That is only if you
Okay.
want to be in academia. But if you don't want to be in academia, don't worry yourself.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Lucas.
Yeah, Doc. Please, I want to ask a question, a follow-up question on that matter. For instance, I did a BEd JHS education, and I'm doing this course right now. So, going forward, does this degree I'm doing right now, can it stand alone, considering the fact that I'm going to get only I think three semesters transcript? That's the first question. Or will it have to work with my first degree in JHS education? And
No.
secondly, looking at the geography courses at master's courses at the UCC, we have something like a Master of Science in Geography. Then we also have Masters of Art in Geography. What are the differences between those two? And if I want to progress from this level, which of them would you advise or recommend that is best to do, considering my background right now? Thank you.
Okay. In first place, your BEd junior high school program is meant for you to teach at the basic junior high school level. You can't take it to secondary school. This program
Yes.
will qualify you to be able to teach at the secondary school. That's why this is a secondary education program. So this certificate or this program will stand alone to get you there. There are a number of people who have done this sandwich level with the institute who are now in secondary schools all over. Some of them have even done their masters, they have completed. A number of them I gave them recommendations, and some of them have completed, even Kane Wasty and Legon, among others. So this certificate still stand alone. You don't need to add your JHS. Your JHS will even disqualify you. That program is restricted to that's why it's BEd junior high school, not secondary school. Then Two, in terms of progression, that's why I said if you want to be in academia, the master you are supposed to do is MPhil, Master of Philosophy. MA is Master of Arts. MSc is and MA, they have the same level. And that's one. If the sciences, they use the MSc, and the art that use the MA. So MA Geography is there. Then we have Master of Science in Geography also there, especially when you go to those those who are into the sciences. But MSc and MA, they are all in the same level. They are all in the same soup. You cannot use it to teach at the college level, or you have to go in for MPhil. MPhil is Master of Philosophy with rigorous research.
Okay. So, but is it possible? Is it possible that you do the Master of Art Geography before you do 1 year top up for the MPhil, or it's recommended that you do it once, the MPhil, straightforward?
It depends on your strength and your resources. You can go that way. You can also go straight if you have the strength and time and resources. Okay, this will be the last question so that we make progress.
Okay,
Mary,
thank you
go
very
ahead.
much, Doc.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doc. Please, I want to ask this. What you were saying, what you were saying, and then what my brother asked. Me, for instance, I'm having B.Ed Social Studies in GHS, and now I'm doing this B.Ed Social Sciences, which is Geography major and then minor Economics. So from progression from here, does it mean that I won't be able to do any master course apart from this related course? I want to know. Thank you.
You said you cannot do any what?
Like, can I do any other maybe MPhil program?
Yeah, you can do it. You can do any MPhil program you want to do. What I'm saying is that is if you want to be in academia, say, and that's my stress. So person which are be at say college level, university level, either private or public level. You need to progress vertically. We have something called vertical progression. So that one you can know if you are using this certificate, that is Bachelor of Education, Geography and Economics. Then your master should also be in geography, either MA in geography or MPhil in geography, or like I mentioned, would me from social studies, skirt and blouse. And your B.Ed Junior High School Social Studies program is for the junior high school level, not for the secondary school. And it's a person require masters. Edit to and also there. You can go and do social studies to align with that junior high school, but you will still go back to junior high school to teach.
Okay, Doc, I hear. Thank you very much.
Unless maybe a college MPhil in social studies and a college you went to consider you are their own student. So who have first degree in junior high school, and you work with MPhil, they want to pick you.
Okay, Doc. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Atanga.
Doc. Oh, I'm well answered.
Oh, okay. Now one side that's what's soon.
Oh, it's a legacy, and I forgot to put it down. Thank you.
Okay, so we are looking at what's the serious issue here? Okay, we are looking at the models of curriculum development. Charlie, the issue I told you is serious because a friend of mine has really suffered because of this. He has really suffered. We all did first degree together. He did B.Ed management. After service, he went to do MPhil educational psychology. And he wants to go to college to go and teach. In fact, we had a principal who was ready to help. We submitted his first degree and second, the man is, hey, master, we just get a blast. Yeah, the cogit a crown, but factory. So, about back to UCC to do BSc psychology. Almost he has to start from first level 100 and for 4 good years. Hey! Obi Ochra there, no, at the Chakra Basic School, in Ochra. So later we have to fall on Methodist University, who are also having the same program. And they waived 1 year off because he has the MPhil educational psychology. So they waived 1 year off. So Ochra 3 years with Methodist University, private and the school fees. No child of basic school, so now already need BEd management na kwa. Bre and sana we and sana nyamia ya doma wenya St. Louis College of Education or Chade. So ebi ono no nya support, ebi na we nya support. It mean you have to don't rush in doing certain masters, but take a wise decision so that you don't regret tomorrow. Some of you look at the fanciful nature of the program now. So we are looking at the models of curriculum development. Models of curriculum development. And when we are talking about the models of curriculum development, there are some scholars who we call them, they are the pioneering scholars who developed some models or approach that any country who wants to develop a curriculum can use it as a base to develop. So we want to look at some of these people and their models, and also what we can also pay attention to. But let me be quick to say that the models we are going to discuss are not exhaustive. There are a lot of models that are out there. Talk of Kells, Quebec's, Eisner's, and all number of models out there. But these people that we are going to discuss, they are the pioneering people who first brought out models. And all other scholars who brought their models stood on the work of these scholars to criticize them and bring out theirs. Are you getting the picture? So we are going to focus on these 3 scholars, discuss their model. Then you may come across others in your reading or other areas. It does not mean that they are not part, but these are not exhaustive. They are others. Are you getting it? Now, the first person we want to talk about is Ralph Tyler's rationale or objective model. In fact, the picture you see is the man himself. Raphael Tyler was a lecturer in Chicago University in USA. And in way back 1949, that he propounded a model or an approach that anybody who wants to develop a curriculum can use it. And his model was one of the most influential models in the field of curriculum development. So normally people refer to the model as the Tyler rationale or objective model. Now, according to Ralph Tyler, so that, like I said, the picture you see is the Tyler himself. He is of the view that anybody who wants to develop a curriculum for any society or country, there are 4 basic questions you have to ask yourself. And these 4 basic questions were explicitly written in one of his books that he wrote in Basic Principles of Curriculum and Instruction. He said there are 4 questions you must ask yourself. And these 4 basic questions brought about his 4-step approach to curriculum development. Now, what are these 4 questions? The first question you must ask yourself is, what purpose should the institution seek to attain? You can paraphrase it by saying that, what objectives should the institution seek to achieve? Is still correct. What purpose should the institution seek to achieve? And that question brought about his first stage, which is setting of what objectives. The next one has to do with what educational experiences can be provided that are likely to achieve these purposes. And that's brought about his second stage, which is learning experience and content. Then the third, how can these educational experiences be organized? And that led to the third stage, which is organizing learning experience. And the last stage, how do we end up? So the 4 questions brought about the 4-stage model. Now, we want to take them one by one and look at what goes into each of them. So you pay attention to what he talked about. Now, when it comes to the setting of objectives, according to Tyler, he says that you cannot just stand and just be writing objectives. What you must first do is to get some information or some data from some people and use that information to construct your objectives. And one of the sources he said you can have to get in touch with is the subject specialist. The subject specialist. You see, these things are not in the slide, but it's in the material you have. So once I tell you, can look into the material and just underline them. The subject specialist. The second person, he also sources of data is the contemporary society. The contemporary society. Then the third person is the learner. The learner. So, according to Tyler, these are the 3 sources of data you must consult. The contemporary society and the learner. Now, it says that when you get these information data from them, just don't take it hook, line, sinker and use it. Hook, line, sinker and use it. But rather filter it, sieve it, screen it. And he gave 2 screens. One is the educational or the social philosophy. Is the first screen that you must filter it against it. So when the subject specialist say this is to be done, when the learner is saying this, and the society concerns are this, weigh it against the social philosophy of the society, the belief system of the society, or the educational philosophy of that society. If it is in line with the philosophies, the social philosophy or the educational philosophy of the society, include it in writing of the objectives. If it is not in line with the social or the educational philosophy of the society, then eliminate it, exclude it. The next screen he also provides is the psychology of learning. And the psychology of learning, he wants you to also weigh the demands and the concerns and the things that they are proposing against the psychology of learning. Is it something that the level that we are developing for, is it doable? Or is beyond the student's level of thinking? You weigh it against it. So the ones that are within the ability of the learner, we include it. And the others, we eliminate it. And so that's how Tyler advocated for stating the data, the sources of data, and how you can use it to develop the objectives. Now, he also encouraged the use of what we call the eclectic means of data collection. That's collection of data from diverse sources, perspectives, viewpoints. Then he also advocated for stating objectives in behavioral terms, where we all know that, as we say that by the end of the lesson, the students should be able to do that. So he also advocated for stating objectives in behavioral terms. Now, he also believed that a scientific approach should be used in gathering these data in writing the objectives. So that's how he talked about the setting of objective, what must go into it. Then when you come to the next level, which is the learning experience or content, this is where he defined learning experience as the interaction between the learner and the external condition. And the external condition, he was referring to the interaction between the learner and the facilitator or the teacher. So like what I'm doing with you, according to Tyler, is an example of learning experience. The interaction that we're having now online, according to Tyler, is an example of learning experience. He's also referring to the learner, the interaction between the learner and his peers. So when you do group meeting, group discussion among yourself, group studies and those things, according to Tyler, is an example of learning experience. Also, it includes the interaction between the learner and the subject. So when someone goes home, bath, eats, and pick up his book and is reading and making notes and points from it, according to Tyler, is an example of learning experience. The external condition is also referring to the learner and the environment. So when you break time, you explore the environment, you play and all those things, according to Tyler, is an example of learning experience. So that's how he defined his learning experience. And he also saw learning experience in two forms: a theoretical learning experience and that of what? The practice aspect of the learning experience. Where the theoretical is the mental ability or the mental picture of what you teach in the classroom, and the practice is the opportunity given to the learners to practicalize what has been learned. So for example, if you teach cave in the classroom, and at the end of the day, you take the student to the field to have a practical feel of the reality of the cave, that practical field experience becomes the practice aspect of the learning experience. And what you taught in classroom theoretically becomes the theory aspect of the experience. He also advocated for the selection criteria that we talked about in Unit 1, that the learning experience you select must be valid. It must be relevant. It must be comprehensive. It must be useful to the needs of the society. So if you remember, those criteria for selection of learning experience that we talked about in Unit 1, he also encouraged those criteria to be used. And even the organization in terms of balance, sequence, and all those things that we talked about, he also advocated for that. Then when you come to his third stage, where he talks about the organization of learning experience, here he refers to it as the stage where teachers really translate those experiences into teaching and learning activity. So here he rather referred to it as the implementation of these experiences. There's implementation of these experiences. So this is where the teacher, both the learners and the teachers, actualize these content in teaching and learning classroom. So the interaction that happens between the teacher and the learners in the classroom is what he referred to it as the organization of learning experience at the implementation stage. Then the last stage is the evaluation stage, where he believed that the evaluation instrument that you are going to use, be it questionnaire, observation, or test, must be compactable, it must be reliable, it must be valid, and it must be objective, as it was mentioned in his material. So these are how he expanded the various stages of his model. And if you look into the material I gave you, you could see that these things I've mentioned are all explained in the material over there. Any question on the explanation of the stages before we look at the merits and demerits of the model?
So please, can I come in with a question? Considering stage 2 and 3, you mentioned interaction between the learner and the teacher. What are the differences in such interactions at the 2 stages?
No, at the first stage, the second stage, we didn't talk about interaction with the teacher and the learner. It is at the third stage that we talk about the interaction between the teacher and the learner, because that's the stage he referred to as the implementation stage. The organizing learning experience is what Tyler, referred to as the implementation stage. As the implementation stage. So that is where that interaction between the learner and the teacher takes place. But the stage 2, where he talks about what educational experience he's talking about, that's where he defined what learning experience is. And the definition is what he said: the learning experience is the interaction between the learner and the external condition. So where we are talking about the interaction between the teacher and the learner by way of the teaching and learning that takes place in the classroom is the third stage, where he's talked about the organization of learning experience, which he meant to be what? Implementation. Are you getting the picture?
Yes. Yes, well noted.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, now let's look at some merits and demerits. So one of the merits is the fact that his work is the pioneering work on a complete, it is the pioneering work on a complete and comprehensive view about how curricula of schools should be planned and organized. He was the first person to bring out a model or an approach. And that's why we said that his is the pioneering work. And that credit goes to him in that regard. A minute. Because he was the first person, that's why we said that's the pioneering work. And all other scholars we are going to talk about, they stood on the work of Tyler. They used his work as a foundation to build upon this. That's why I said Tyler's model is the basic model of the objective approach to curriculum development. As many other curriculum experts derive their work from that of Tyler's work. So we can say that he's the pace setter. His model had much more influence on curriculum thinking than any other model. Since many curricula of schools have been deliberately patterned after that of his model. Another merit is that his criteria for selecting objectives are value-free and generalized. When we say value-free and generalized, what we mean is that when he get the information from the three sources of data, the subject specialist, the contemporary society, and the learner, he did not impose a specific philosophy of education that you must screen against. For example, he did not say that screen it against perennialism philosophy or pragmatist philosophy of education, but he said that weigh it against the social or educational philosophy. And because of that, any country, irrespective of your philosophy of education, you can use his model. And that's why we are saying that it's what? Value-free and generalized. So whether you are pragmatist philosophy of education, you can use his model. Whether you are perennialism, you can use his model. Whether you are progressivist, you can use his model. That's why I say it does not impose any particular philosophy of education for use by schools. And this makes it possible for the model to be used by all kinds of schools and cultures. I following.
Yes, please.
Now, the merits. In life, everything has its pros and cons. True or false?
Very true.
Even human beings, we have our strengths and weaknesses. Now, one of his criticisms is that his model was too simplistic and mechanistic. Simplistic in the sense that he created the impression that curriculum development is just a straightforward linear activity when you set objectives, setting of objectives down to value, and you are done. But we all know that curriculum development is very complex, continuous activity. In fact, at every point, you need to even go back, make adjustments, reflect, forward, back and forth. So it's not just too simplistic, say what set your objective down to as he created that impression, which he has been criticized. And also created that mechanistic impression in the sense that just like in a manufacturing hub, where maybe orange juice manufacturing, the orange is in one cake, you wash it, go to one stage of washing, another stage of squeezing, another stage of adding chemicals, another stage of bottling and corking, packaging, and out. Curriculum is not just like at times you even have to go back at certain stages, go and remodify, continue, modify. So back and forth, continuous process. So that's one of the things that has been criticized. The next is that his model is based on the ends means line of thinking for ensuring instructional effectiveness and efficiency. So that's right from the objectives, content, and all those kind of things, ends means. As it has been argued in the curriculum decision makings ends means discussion that we did. Now, Tyler failed to show the interrelationship among the three main sources of data for the formulation of curriculum objectives. Also, he gave three sources: the subject specialist, the contemporary society and the learner that get data from separately. But he didn't show the relation, the interrelation that exists between these three sources of data he provided, which became so prominent for them to get data from them to construct the objectives. He did not show the interrelationship that exists between them. All what he said that these are three sources of data, go to them, get information, screen them, and just use it to write the objectives. So some scholars believe that at least he could have shown the interrelationship that exists between these three sources of data. He has also been criticized on the fact that he said the subject specialist should be one of the sources to get information to construct objectives. Because Claiborne has argued that learning subject matter is neither the only nor the highest purpose of education. That's why when someone asks the question that do we do the curriculum based on taking chief examiner's report to know whether students are passing certain courses or subjects so that we can put in certain subjects or modify. I told you that we don't do curriculum based on WAEC passing or failing. That's why people are arguing, Claiborne and Blue are arguing that, you see, the subject specialist relevance is at the point where we are selecting subject matter or content for learners to do. So you don't, education, the purpose of education is not just about students doing this course and passing, but it's about giving the learner the holistic knowledge, understanding the skill set to be able to construct, reconstruct, or contribute responsibly to the society. Hence, the subject specialist should not be a priority of source of objective stating. Rather, when it comes to selection of content or learning experience, that's where the subject matter is of relevance. So putting him at that priority level of the highest level of education, people see it to be a problem. And I tend to agree. Or you don't agree?
I agree.
Then the next criticism is that Tyler downplays the importance of subject matter knowledge in the curriculum, as he treats it as being part of what learn experience. Just look at something in the model. You see that it is only at the second stage that he attached content to learn experience. Do you realize that? So even at that point, he failed to talk extensively on content. Most of his writing were on learn experience. And that's why he has been criticized that he downplayed on the importance of content or subject matter knowledge. We all know that subject matter or knowledge is very important. And you see, well, you cannot blame him as well. It's because of his background. He's an US scholar. I know US learning is different from we Ghanaian learning. So you cannot blame him where he's coming from. And these people design their model based on where they come from and their experiences over the time, which at times may not always fit our context. Now, Kell also criticized him is of the view that curriculum development should not be seen to be a static, straightforward, linear activity, but rather a dynamic and continuous process. But Tyler failed to show that dynamic and continuous process. And the seventh criticism is that Tyler does not indicate the interrelatedness of the components of the curriculum process, with each element being considered in an isolation, with the exception of one arrow, one-way track arrow showing the various stages. If you look at, that's the arrow pointing down to the next one. It failed to show the interconnectedness or the interrelatedness of these elements. At what point is setting of objective connecting to evaluation? At what point does the setting of objective connecting to organization of learning experience? At what point learning experience is also connecting back to objectives? Likewise, organizing learning experience back to learning experience. He did not show all those things. And that's the criticism people are leveling, is the fact that he failed to show the interrelatedness and the interconnectedness of the various elements or the components of the curriculum element. So these are some of the criticism that has been leveled against him. Now, based on these criticisms that was leveled against him, then one of his students that he taught in Chicago University, in the person of Hilda Taba, in 1962, decided to correct the wrongs of his boss or his lecturer. And so he also came out with a model with the same name like the rational objective model in 1962. And the picture you see there is the person of the Taba. Now, he decided to correct the wrongs of his boss by introducing additional steps. So don't forget that the boss was criticized that he failed to show, he downplayed on the subject matter. He also prioritized the subject specialist, which was criticized. So now what he decided to do is to place importance on the subject matter or content. So he outlined about 7 steps. The first step is diagnosis of needs, or what we call needs assessment. The second is the formulation of objectives. Third, selection of content, organization of content, selection of learning experience, organization of learning experience, and the last one, determining of what to evaluate and the ways and means of doing it. That's evaluation. So, some of the unique things that she did that the boss could not do, which worth commendation, is the fact that Hilda Taba was the first curriculum developer to indicate that in any proper curriculum development, the first thing you must do is to do what we call diagnosis of needs. And when we say diagnosis of needs, it's a matter of when you have gone to hospital and we have diagnosed you that you have malaria. That's a diagnosis. So anytime we talk of diagnosis of need, we are talking about diagnosing the curriculum to know what is wrong with the curriculum. What is the curriculum supposed to achieve that is not achieving? What is wrong? Then based on that, you can construct, formulate your objectives. Then it follows it. Now, when it comes to formulation of objectives, Hilda Taba is one of the scholars who was able to distinguish between aims, goals, and objectives, which is a credit to her. The boss did not do that. Then one of the things she sought to do was to move away from that deductive approach of his boss to an inductive approach and logical reasoning. So one of the things she sought to do was to move away from its more deductive way of doing things to inductive reasoning. So where learners are given the opportunity, get to the field, organize pieces of information, facts, ideas, concepts, and bring it together to establish the bigger concept or generalization. Unlike the deductive, where you present the general concept, then you break them down into concept. So because of that, he recommended the use of field trips, excursions, and he was one of the first scholars who also advocated for use of audio materials and audiovisual materials in delivering of the content. Now, when it comes to selection of content, he also talked about the critical principles that you must adhere to. The content must be valid, it must be comprehensive, it must be significant, relevance to the needs of the society, among others that we talked about in the criteria for selecting content, together with the organization, which must follow the various things that we talked about in the sequence, balance, continuity, among others. Then when it comes to learning experience is also one of the areas that Hilda Taba talked about. And according to her, he said learning experience should be selected and organized in such a way that learners will be able to learn them. Hence, he also advocated for that the learning experience that must be selected must be significant, learnable, sequence, and must be integrated so that learners will be able to learn them. And like I said, she also advocated for the use of teaching learning resources such as audio and audio visuals, aid, excursions, field trips to provide further sensory experience to learners. And this will go a long way to stimulate their critical thinking through inductive reasoning. And like I said, she was the first curriculum expert to distinguish between aims, goals, and objectives. So that is Hilda Taba for you. Now, based on what we have said, there are some merits from her model. And here we are saying that her insistence on making needs assessment or diagnosis of need a reference point for subsequent curriculum development activities is a major and powerful contribution to the curriculum field, which his board does not do that. Two, her inclusion of inductive approach to curriculum and instruction for development of critical thinking skills is an improvement from that of his boss work. Then also, since he was able to recognize the hierarchy of objectives, as he was able to distinguish between the aims, goals, and objectives, especially when it came to the operationalization of more global goals of education, aims of education at the classroom levels, among others, is a credit to her. And lastly, she's also commended for the use of an inductive strategy in the presentation of lessons and an idea that teaching and learning aids like the audio, visuals, and other resources like other methods of teaching like field trips, excursions, and those things should be used to provide further sensory stimuli and to instigate critical thinking in learning, which is highly commendable by stakeholders. Oh yeah, then there are some demerits. Obi besane okoto we on one man. Ana also okoto we on one man. So one of the see, like Thales model, her model is also being criticized of being too simplistic and linear based on ends and on means conceptualization of curriculum development. You see, when you look at his model and that of his boss, you see, there's no difference in terms of the issue of simplistic and linear base instead of the continuous or cyclical or complex nature. Also, we said the model failed to integrate the interrelatedness of the component of the curriculum development process, as Tabatu was criticized. Then, Kirsten Walker also criticized by saying that curriculum development is neither purely scientific nor rational, as assumed by Taba. But at times there are political considerations that also occasion certain curriculum theory. So that political consideration have to be built into any curriculum theory for it to be what credible. Because whichever country you find yourself, the government or the state or maybe federal or state could have an influence in the direction of the curriculum. So creating that impression of true scientific and rational without any political consideration being factored may be seen as problematic. Then McKinsey also criticized Taber's inductive approach to teaching skills in the sense that it will provide too little information to enable learners to discover the ideas they are supposed to learn. Because if you are telling students that students should just be going out, explore, gather pieces of information, come and present and report, at times they may end up not getting the needed information or the needed knowledge they need before the semester or the term can end. And lastly, Anderson also found that student teachers using Taber's inductive teaching strategy were able to develop high level of competency in thinking. But these levels were achieved even more effectively by using self-instruction models. So what they are trying to say is that, yes, the high competency that was achieved through that inductive reasoning or deductive teaching, it was most of that achievement were through self-directed what learning that those things were achieved. So these are some of the criticisms that have been leveled against either Taba. Any question on the two before I add the last one to wrap up with this unit? Any question? Oh, you cannot say she copied the boss. I think she brought in some new things that the boss did not. But in this life, people say there's nothing new under the sun. Is that not so? Oh,
Yes.
so we copy each other every time. Okay. So Wheeler in 1967, based on the criticisms on Tyler and that of Taba, decided to bring what he called the circular framework
Hello, please. Is the lecture still on or is from my end? I can't hear anything.
I think he's on mute. He has muted his mic. Understanding.
He's active. He's active. Based on what I can see here, the slides are still showing, so maybe he's just gone off for a while. Let's wait for him.
Hello, sorry. Now I have to give the child to the mother. He wanted to disturb. And I'm Mary, I didn't do well. So so Wheeler, so the
But
picture
please,
is
that's all. That's all. You need to attend to them.
uh-huh. Okay. Now I didn't want this one is a team wife team wives against team husbands.
Yes, sir. Team wives
uh,
against team husbands. Yes.
mm. So Wheeler looked at the criticisms that were leveled against Tyler Tower. Then he decided to okay, let me look at their criticisms, the issues they raised, and let me use it to develop mine. So his model sought to improve upon that of Tyler and Taber's model. So he introduced what we call the circular model. Circular model. And here it means that the final phase, which is the evaluation phase, may have a link with the initial phase, which is the aims, goals, and what objective phase. So what we are saying that according to Wheeler, each of the phase is a logical development from the preceding ones. So that means that for a successive phase to commence, some preparatory work has to be done in the previous phase. So this is how he presented his model to show the cyclical. So he first started with selection of aims, goals, and objectives. Then selection of learning experience, selection of content, organization and integration of learning experience and content, and evaluation. So this is how he presented his model. So showing the cyclical nature of his model. So as Tyler had 4 components, Hilda Taba has 7 components, Wheeler has 5 components of his model. And you could see that both learning experience and content are selected separately right after selection of aim, goals, and objectives. Using the same criteria of selection. That is, it must be valid, it must be significant, relevance, usefulness, and all those criteria we discuss when it comes to the selection of content and learning experiences. Now, along the line, when you get to the 4th point, he argued that both content and learning experience must be put together in organized and integrated with each other so that there could be some synergy whenever learners are learning them. That's why the 4th one, we have organization and integration of learning of content. And one who asked the question, why did Tyler decided to bring learning experience before content selection. But before we come there, Wheeler is one of the scholars who also distinguish between aims, goals, and what objectives. Apart from Hirataba, Wheeler is one of the scholars. And in fact, he was the one who brought about the concept of what we call the ultimate goals, proximate, and mediate. Ultimate, mediate, and proximate what goals. So he believes that effective curriculum and instruction work, there must be a clear distinction of aims, goals, and what objectives. And that's why he did that. So we have the broad nature of aims that we call the ultimate. Then we have the what we call the immediate goals or purposes that should be derived. And also have the how to call the proximate what goals or proximate objectives. So the proximate are more or less like the objectives at the level of the lesson that you are planning. That's why if you check, also proximate objectives should be derived from planning the more discrete or specific objective for daily lessons to be taught. So proximate objectives or goals are the least one, the classroom teaching level. Then we have the immediate and that of the ultimate, which is the overall aim. Now, in terms of the view of the learning experience, he believed that learning experience should be seen as a means of instilling or changing behavior in learners. So based on that, he identified 3 types of learning experiences. He talked about physical learning experience, mental and emotional experience, which all of them correspond with the taxonomies in terms of the educational domains of educational objectives, the cognitive, affective, and what? The psychomotor. So when we talk of physical, talking about the psychomotor, the mental, cognitive, and the emotional experience, also that of the affective side. And one of the things he stressed that the learning experience should be organized in accordance with the maturity levels of the learners. So it means that you must check the level of the student, their age and their level, to select an appropriate learning experience for them. He also indicated that the levels of generality of the objective should be the basis for selecting and organizing the learning experience. And one of the things he also talked about, so far as the subject matter is concerned, you see that instead of selection of content, he decided to talk about selection of learning experience. And his argument is that no matter the value of the content or subject matter or its potential to help man to obtain the needed knowledge or experience or change, it has no intrinsic value or wealth until human beings do something by way of the experiences in which that behavior could be learned. So instead of you selecting content before learning experience, he believes that through that activity, through learner's experience, they are able to derive the content, the knowledge they have been able to construct. Hence, he will prioritize learning experience over the content. Besides, it's through the learning experience that are used to obtain the knowledge, the information, the understanding, which is the core of the subject or the content. Then the last, at a point where he said both of them must be organized. And as we talked about, he has indicated that content encompasses mental powers, other capacities such as thinking skills, attitude, and values. So He argues that these learning outcomes emerge from learning activities crafted for learners. So you see how he defined his content. That content include the mental powers such as critical thinking skills, attitude, and values. And it is only when these learning experiences are emotion that these values, skill set, attitudes, and mental powers are utilized. And that's why he plays selection of learn experience over that of content. And as we all know, evaluation ends by both formative and summative in this regard. So in the diagram, one of the most important features we could all realize is the cyclical nature of his model. So it gives an impression of the idea that when you end at evaluation, there's a basis for you to also continue to show the continuous process of the model of Wheeler. Now let's look at some of the merits. We are saying that making telecom process circular rather than linear has partially answered the critics on the issue of interrelatedness or the interaction between the various phases of the curriculum. We are saying it has partially because his model did not show the interconnectedness or of the various elements. Because the question is, at what point is selection of aims and objectives interacting with organization and integration of learning experience? So there should have been an arrow connecting this from here to here. There should have arrow connecting this to this, arrow connecting this to this, so that will show the interconnectedness. Are you getting the picture? And that will mean by the interconnectedness we are talking about. Now, Wheeler's idea of translating educational aims by three-step process into discrete classroom level objectives is a significant contribution where he talks about the ultimate goals, mediate, and proximate goals. He also argues for the primacy of learning experience undergone by learners as a focal point for organizing school curriculum. That's why he placed the learning experience over content. So he makes it clear that no matter how useful subject matter knowledge is in ensuring learning, it must not determine what learners should learn in school. That's his argument. It can be subject to criticisms. Wheeler's idea that learning experience and content should be organized and integrated with each other is very, very useful. One, which is commendable. But as we all know, always there will be some criticisms. First, we are saying that the curriculum, the circular nature of the model, with its single edge arrow linking up the various phases, does not give full account of the dynamic interconnectedness that must exist among the various components of the curriculum process for effective operation. So like I've mentioned earlier, it doesn't give the full picture of the interconnectedness, and interrelatedness of the various components. Also, Wheeler's model failed to take account of and perhaps develop Talbert's idea that before formulating educational aims and objectives, there must be diagnosis of need or need assessment, which he did not do that. He also started straight away from aims, goals, and objectives without talking about the need assessment or diagnosis of need. And lastly, his model can be criticized for not departing from the ends means orientation of the previous models already discussed, like Tyler and Taba, with the exception of the fact that he was able to do the cyclical, but apparently it's not quite different from what others have also done. So that is that for the approaches. Thank you. If you have any question, you can bring it up now. If not, you see what can be done. Any question or contribution? Okay. When are we supposed to close? When are we
Sir,
supposed to close?
please, supposed to be 3:30.
3:30.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's now 3:32.
Yes, sir. All the
So
same, all the same, it's okay.
uh so we have a meeting next week, is that not so?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Okay. But the thing I lunch is 11:30 or is 11:50.
It's 11:30 to 3:30.
Okay. So we'll finish it up next week. So next week we'll look at curriculum implementation and evaluation, and that will be the end of the course.
Okay, sir.
Mm.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. So I've already given the slide to the course rep to send it to you.
Thank you.
I'm sure he has given it to you.
Yes, he has put it in the platform.
Okay. So we'll meet Godwin next week Sunday to wrap it up. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank
And
you
I
also.
apologize for not starting around. Today is Covenant Sunday, and as a Methodist and a lay preacher, I had a role to play. So at a point, I have to excuse myself and drive home to connect online. Mm. Okay. So thank you very much. And our monitor, we're also grateful for your time and for your patience as well. Always recording it for us. We are so much grateful. We appreciate we appreciate you so much, sir. So colleagues, we'll meet God willing Sunday to wrap it up for the course. Thank you and have a blessed afternoon and evening. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Yapu.
Sir, please, can I send you a message?
He's offline, so maybe send it. You can send it to reply.
Hey, Chris, so you don't want to call me? Okay,
Wait for is there.